Chapter 99. You're right, it's good, it's very good. What did you say your name was? It's one of my students, Jenny. She has developed enormously. After the summer she has submitted only first-class work. Finally. How do you mean? Oh, I've struggled with her since the beginning. I could see already from the start that she was talented, but I failed to get her to write to the level of her ability. Now she's finally doing it. How did you help her? Inga P's colleague, Pelle Pettersson, who, when he had heard that she was called Inga P, had introduced himself as Pelle P, leaned forward. Inga P, who was sitting on the other side of the desk, told him that most likely it was not her doing, but something that had happened during the summer, something that had stopped the endless anger she had been caught up in. Pelle P shrugged. She may have stopped being angry with herself. I was quite troubled at that age too. Inga P nodded. Maybe. She seems more harmonious now and writes with distance without losing her passion, just like I knew she would be able to. Exactly what I was trying to make her do. Peter looked at her with a smile. Good work. I'm sure your skills as a teacher played a part in the change. Congratulations. Inga P's laughter included a hint of embarrassment. I just wanted to show you. The difference is so big that I almost feel like I want a second opinion to make sure I'm not exaggerating. I've already given her so many A's recently. Per tapped on the stack of papers Inga P was holding on to. That is worth an A, without a doubt. No one in my class has submitted anything like it. He glanced at his watch. Well, it's past 3. I have to go and pick up my kids. Inga P frowned. Unfortunately, that trait hasn't changed. Jenny was supposed to be here at 3 o'clock, and now it's 7 past. Per laughed. Maybe you can't have it all, Inga. At least not at once. 12 minutes after the agreed time, Jenny came to Inga P's room, breathless. So I'm late. She threw herself into the chair with such speed that a puff of air swept over Inga P's desk. Jenny. Inga leaned forward with her hands clasped and leaning on the desk. Every year, I see if I have a student in the final year who is good enough to write a report for this magazine. She took out a magazine from the top drawer. When Jenny looked at it, she inhaled quickly. It was an exceptionally good magazine, focusing on events in various parts of the world, events that resonated in the rest of the world. Exactly the kind of magazine Jenny would like to work for. You know it? I think it's great. They publish the kind of articles I want to write. Inga P leaned back, tilting the black office chair backwards. Good. You get your chance to do that now. One of my friends works for that magazine. Several times I've let a good graduate student write a text for the May issue. You can see it as a kind of final exam. If they want to publish your text, you are truly a skilled journalist. The May issue? Yes, so you have about 6 months to prepare. Can I write about whatever I want? Inga P gave her a few more issues of the magazine. Read these, see what type of stories they usually publish, then come up with a proposal or two and discuss them with me. Jenny flipped through the magazines. Thank you. You have 2 weeks to come up with a proposal and an outline. Sure, no problem. She already knew what she wanted to write about. Jenny went straight to Malka. Malka worked part-time as a janitor at a school and was normally home early in the afternoons. She let Jenny in and offered coffee and homemade bread, as usual. They were sitting in the living room that overlooked the backyard. I want you to find your friend Nada. Surprised, Malka looked at Jenny as her thoughts flew far. Nada, her best friend. Nada with whom she had shared so much. She and Nada had become friends the same day Nada's father came and worked in Malka's family's garden back in Israel. He had taken his daughter to work because she would rather be with him than at home with her mother. Nada and Malka had both been 4 years old and they had played all day together. After that, Nada's dad took her with him every time he worked there. Their friendship started long before they knew anything about Palestinians and Israelis. Many years of friendship had passed before they encountered the first problems. People around them spoke ill of their respective people. People called them traitors because they hung out with the enemy. The older they got, the harder it was to stay friends. Nada's family, like other Palestinians, was regularly banned from crossing the border into Israel, even though they worked there. Things could go well for months, and then everything would be destroyed by a suicide bombing that led to closed borders and the constructions of walls. Their friendship had grown stronger through the difficulties. As teenagers, They felt like rebels every time they met, every time they walked the streets together, violating expectations and orders. When Malka's family finally chose to move to Sweden, they promised each other to write, to keep in touch. They had kept that promise, until an Israeli attack in response to another bomb had destroyed the area where Nada lived. There had not been any letters from Nada since. Malka didn't know if it was because Nada's family had no home, or if it was because Nada's family had prevented her from writing to Malka. Maybe it even meant that Nada was dead, but Malka didn't want to think that. She just didn't want to. Her home, the entire area, was bombed. I never received a new address. I'm not even sure she's alive. Malka drank some of her coffee and grimaced when she noticed that she had forgotten to pour milk into it. Can't you search online? Seriously, Jenny, do you think it's that easy? Most Palestinians don't even have access to a house with electricity, let alone a computer and an email address. Besides, why do you want me to find her? Jenny leaned forward with the coffee cup enclosed by both her hands. I want to write about you. I want to write about your friendship in the midst of your country's conflict. Malka frowned. What? Jenny gave the magazines she had received from Amelia and told Malka about the opportunity she had been given. Congratulations! She really believes in you. Malka got up and patted her shoulder. Jenny beamed and Malka sat down again. Things are going well for you now, aren't they? Jenny nodded. Things were going well. It was as if everything had gotten unstuck after that night with Peter. Suddenly, everything was going away. Her studies were going well, she and Keivan were good friends again, and she had lots and lots of energy. She was grateful. She still remembered what it was like to feel bad all the time, and she no longer took happiness for granted. I still don't understand why you didn't choose to stay with him. He's the one who made you feel the way you do now. And so often, Jenny responded by singing lyrics, this time a song by Marie Fredriksson. I know you have the blood of a wanderer, and I a pearl to seek. You have your way and your will, and I a sea to meet. She smiled sadly as she fell silent. Then she continued, it would have been wonderful to be with him again, fantastic, awesome, for a while. Then he would want to move on, while I would want to stay. Last time, that almost killed me. And then I still felt good before. My confidence was at its peak. Now I'm injured. I'm fine, but I don't want to feel that kind of pain again. I'm not strong enough for that. She laughed. When he left that time, it was the worst that had ever happened to me. I was breaking down, I really was. Looking back now, now that has happened and I've done things I don't want to think about, I can see how ridiculous it was to be so sad about something as banal as a broken heart. Malka shook her head. It's not ridiculous. It was the biggest adversity you had ever experienced. It was not banal, not for you, not then. A problem can't be compared to other problems, it can only be felt. Yeah, but it was a bit ridiculous that, no, not at all. If you look at it that way, no problems would be problems. No matter how bad something is, it could always be worse. I mean, what are our experiences compared to the women in Darfur who are raped in front of their children, who may also be raped or even killed? What are our problems compared to those of the Jews who perished in Auschwitz? There are always problems that are worse, but one's own problems are just as difficult as they feel in the moment. Jenny enjoyed talking to Malka. It was almost like talking to Peter. It enriched her, made her think in new ways. She continued the discussion by saying, when I hear people complain about ridiculous things, like saying that women over 40 shouldn't wear miniskirts, or people living in the countryside getting annoyed about the smell of horses, then I usually think they're ridiculous and that their problems are petty. But maybe I'm missing the point. For them, it may be a big problem. The thing is rather that their lives are so small that small things become big. The frame of reference is so narrow. Probably. Malka finished her piece of bread. That's probably what we achieve when we go through difficulties. An expanded frame of reference, an increased understanding, perhaps greater tolerance. I've thought many times that what I've gone through has given me useful life experiences. The good old what doesn't kill you makes you stronger thing. But I've also thousands of times thought that the price has been too high. I didn't want to learn all these lessons. I didn't want all of these experiences. I would have rather learned a little less. Malka shrugged. We don't always get to choose. You have gained the experiences you've gained, and you get to make the best of them. God made them happen for a reason. Jenny rolled her eyes. She had never understood Malka's conviction that God was behind the foolish things that were happening in the world. Malka gathered the cups and casually said, "By the way, did I tell you I have a boyfriend?" "Malka! We've been talking for a whole hour. You haven't said anything about that until now." Malka's cheeks were a little redder than usual when she returned from the kitchen after putting back the coffee cups and the bread basket. "Tell me everything. What's his name? How did you meet?" Jenny leaned forward and listened intently as Malka talked about Alfred, the guy she had met at the Jewish congregation.